flag done?
Excuse me?
Was the salute to the flag done?
Yes, we're done. Yeah, we did the salute to the flag to start the meeting. I'll explain. The meeting started at 7 o'clock.
Right.
At which time, we called the meeting to order.
Right.
And right after calling the meeting to order, we had a salute to the flag.
Okay.
Then we had a motion to adjourn to executive session, and we are now coming out of executive session for the regular session of the board meeting. So, yes, if you're just joining, there was a preamble that we had before. Tonight is the July meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners. Chief Rogan is not here tonight, and I don't know if he left the report to the assistant chief. I don't think so.
No, he didn't, but there was nothing extraordinary or past.
We have a treasurer's report from John Lazard.
Good evening. The actual budget comparison to June of 2014, currently the district sits with a surplus of approximately $360,000. The revenue side is shy of $37,000, and on the expense side we have a surplus of about $390,000. On the revenue side, we've collected all the taxes, 100% of the taxes, so our revenue side of the ledger is in good shape. The expense side, we have 4 accounts that kind of make up, they do make up $302,000 of the surplus. It's EMT pay, longevity, certiorari expense, and holiday pay. Just to remind everybody, we do the budget on a straight line basis, meaning we do it divide the total annual expense by 12 and straight line it across. So there is some timing to the expenses. But right now, we're in very good shape.
Next we move on, John, we have budget transfer you'd like us to do.
Yeah.
We have, looks like from her email, we have 3 budget transfers. One is $110,000 because we reclassified, we promoted the lieutenant in fire prevention to fire captain. So therefore, it's just moving the money to match his title.
Correct.
From the lieutenant's line to the captain's line. EMT pay, now the EMT pay, it looks like you have money available and you're moving over to professional consultant services.
Correct.
And the last one is longevity line, you have money available and you're moving it over to life insurance, local 916, $18,000.
Correct. The budget for that line was under. So when I did it, I'm just catching up with it now.
So, and what we're doing this monthly to keep our budget more current.
Correct.
The budget line's more current than waiting for the year end to do it all at once. So, I would ask for a resolution moving from line 3410 spot 14 lieutenant salary to 3410 spot 013 fire captain salary $110,000. Also moving $30,000 from EMT pay line 3410 spot 19 to 3410 spot 47 professional consultant fees $30,000. From longevity salary 1212 spot 11 to life insurance local 916 line $18,000. That line is 1945.8. So if I have a resolution to that effect, a motion to that effect. Anyone? Pass the motion to that effect. And a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's, I want to go over the, what is, John?
That's fine. We
Or do you have something else under our agenda?
say it again.
Did you want to do the order?
Yeah, we'll do the order. We received back the final draft, the final version of the audit. It's here tonight to be adopted by the board. The audit was, done very well. This is the first year we had Saks BST do the audit. There was one finding they had to do with the prior lease that's no longer in effect. And, I'm recommending to the board that they adopt the audit of 2013.
But this has been filed with New York State.
It was filed in June, yeah. By state law, it has to be to the state control by June 13th, and it was filed on time.
Right. I had read through it in the past, and made a couple minor spots that we would, need to modify. These are available to the public, if anybody
Yeah,
wants.
they're up on the desk, if anybody wants
They'll
to.
be up, they're up here in front, and we'll also make an email available. All the budgets are pretty much email available. And as John said, this is the first time we've used this auditing firm in probably almost 20 years. So it was a fresh set of eyes looking at what we did. And the management letter was particularly small on this go-around versus the past. So I think it was well done. So the board would like to adopt this audit. Anybody have a second? And so a motion to adopt the December 31, 2013 audit from, I think it's the Saks BST, I think that's it.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you for that. And,
John, the only thing I got is, a lot of these documents aren't being organized in our folders. So I want to see, is it better if I sit down with you and show you how to do it, or is it better if you forward them to me and I put them in the correct records? Because, for example, we have a public folder that's already out on public domain on the website, that these documents are already on. We already actually have the 2013, 12, and 14 budgets up there. So you tell me what's better for you.
It's better that you teach me.
Okay.
This way we got two people who know how to do it.
All right.
and you gave us your file of bills that we paid.
The bills are there, and the bank recs were sent electronically to all the commissioners.
Right, I got a copy of the bank records already. Okay, and anything for us, John? We have to start organizing for the budget in the fall.
I talked to the chairman about that. We plan to have the preliminary budget to the board for their meeting in September. We'll get it out to you 4 or 5 days ahead of time. But if you have things you want to include in there, please email me something. This way I can kind of throw it in. But August, I will start putting the budget together based on what I know for this year. And we'll see what we got.
Okay.
Okay, John, thank you. Tony, do you have anything in the volunteer?
Just a couple of things. We had a drill in June down at Chester Heights by Captain Tween. Commissioner Baker attended. We attended the Mamaroneck parade. It was the first Tuesday of June. We gave 3 scholarships out to 3 different students from each one of the high schools, Eastchester, and Bronxville. Let me see what else do I have. That's about it that we did this month.
Okay, Mr. Baker, I think you want to comment on this drink, volunteers?
Yeah, I want to report my resolution. Sure. I can't remember the exact date. I can tell you it was the night before Eastchester High School graduation. It's to the, yeah, I agree with you.
You can come by my office too, anytime during the day if somebody wants to come in.
Okay.
Just call ahead of time, so.
Yeah, we'll do it.
That'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
So back on track. Okay. So, moving on to fire district election news. On Thursday, I'm going to be meeting with Senator Latimer and Todd Andres and a couple of residents. Mr. Latimer, anybody, welcome, I guess, at 4 o'clock. Is it? Friday at 4 o'clock. meeting at Odyssey Burner, I believe. And we're going to go over what's happened with the fire district election. What happened was there were two amendments to the bill. The Senate and the Assembly both presented changes to the December election law that was changed to allow us to conduct the election in November. Basically, the changes were going to force Westchester County Board of Elections to hold our elections and make them do it instead of taking out the may and make it will, basically.
No, the law, no longer does the law seek the approval of the board of elections.
Correct. Right now, the law requires that the Westchester County Board of Elections approve our change to November. They're not approving it.
There's no need for them.
Yeah, they're not required to. Westchester County Board of Elections is kind of an independent agency. Anybody who researches it will learn the chairman is appointed. The chairman of the Republican Party is head of the Republican Party. The chairman of the Democratic Party is president of the Democratic Party of Westchester County. It's a fairly autonomous group as far as who they report to, because the politicians need them to get on the ballot, basically, if you're on the Republican side or the Democratic side, or Democrat side. So, they march to their own drum. And they decided they're not going to help us. So we went to change the law, and now the Westchester, it got hung up on the wording of if or something, or in the, so Senator Lavin was going to explain to us on Friday how this law did not make it, how this did not make it through the Senate. It made it through the Assembly in the final days of the legislative session. And it's just, we don't understand why. We know what the public wants, we know what the will of the people wants, we don't understand why this is taking the course it's taking. So, we think we'll get a resolution, but will be calendar year 2014. It will probably be calendar year 2015. It looks like we're going to have a December election this year, if the board agrees, the board opines on a December election. But right now it's up in the air, because the law says November, and the county board of elections is saying no.
So where's this meeting going to be at?
I'm meeting with Senator Ladder on,
And anyone could attend?
I don't know if it's open up to it's just supposed to be us sitting down and have them explain to me. I would think a few people can come, if it's 20 people, it would be too many for we're just meeting for coffee in the diner. On Friday at 4
I'll be there.
Thursday at 4 o'clock, Thursday at 4 o'clock.
Thursday or Friday?
Thursday, this Thursday at 4 o'clock, the 17th. So, it's frustrating because that's where we are. So that's the election. Committee reports. Do we have committee reports we can go through? So, Chair, clear firefighters?
Yep. We met with the union, I can't remember the name was, the second week of last month, I believe. So that discussion continues on. There were some requests that they made that we discussed in executive session this evening. So it's nothing that I can really communicate in public. But we did meet with them and we'll continue to do it.
Work in progress, I guess.
Work in progress, continue work in progress.
Volunteer firefighter?
Hey,
There you go.
I heard this before somewhere this evening, but I did attend the drill in June. I don't remember the exact date. It was the night before the Eastchester High School graduation.
It was the 25th or the 26th.
Okay, I'll know that. It was at Chester Heights. I was actually pretty impressed. Looked like there was a lot of good training going on. I would say, if memory serves, there were about 10 people there for training. Is that about right?
Correct.
It was very hot that night, very humid, and that did not impact the training at all in a negative way. The big amount of training, I thought, the big takeaway I got is there was a lot of emphasis put on different types of hydrants that are around town, the Scarsdale, which is the regular ones, different things you need to hook them up with the engines and the hoses, et cetera, et cetera. And there were a couple younger potential volunteers that came off the train that had completely. And they didn't seem to mind them running around the firehouse and looking at everything. So thanks, and I look forward to having more training events like that. It's very good to see.
Okay, thank you, volunteers. House and apparatus, Commissioner Napolitano.
Well, we just received a bill from Russell. I'm reading through it right now, trying to evaluate if full repair for me. It's a total of $10,000. Rob, do you recall what I know?
Which piece of equipment?
It's just labeled T1. It's not labeled T17.
Well, the tower ladder just came back, the bill should be far in excess of that.
So this is in reference to 17.
So it is,
It is 17.
I'm not sure everything will be good. Identify for you.
Back in service. Excuse me, back in service.
All right, so parallel, everything is back in service after some extensive repairs. Actually, I'm looking at it right now, I think a total of $10,000. Well,
So we hire.
this bill is 10.
Then it changed.
Okay.
And I don't think you would have been building the latest repairs, because we only treated it last week.
So what was the last round of repairs that was done?
The last repair was the replacement of the waterway, the replacement of a leaking radiator, which we had a piece, the general service, and the service and the ladder.
Okay, so that's definitely going to be more $10,000.
We actually did more.
Okay. So, ladder 17 is back in service. Okay, so that's all I have for house and apparatus.
Budget and finance, I don't have anything tonight to speak of. Communications, there's none to speak of. Maria, I don't think we have anything in the way of grants, do we? Health and wellness, did you have anything?
I'm not that side said.
No, I didn't hear anything back from her. He was supposed to reach out to me to start setting up some meetings. I still haven't heard back from him.
And technology, I guess that will come down to your, moving there.
Nothing to do with technology.
Okay. So that's for that. One of the topics for tonight is going to be, there's a fall class, speaking of the fall firefights class. There's some discussion about our staffing levels and the desire to bring them to full staffing. So I think we're going to try to accommodate, bring up to full staffing. That was what the, general consensus is that the membership wanted and the board is not going to accommodate. So,
That requires us to conduct another round of meetings.
we'll probably, I think we did inquiries to the 4 names that were on the list. I think there were 4 names on the list that had to go for CPAC, and they've been notified of their CPAC, which was August 8th, I believe.
I think it's the beginning of August.
Beginning of August, don't hold me to the date, but there's going to be a CPAC, which happens is they have to pass the county CPAC, and then we interview after they pass the CPAC. We've already interviewed probably 8 candidates already. I think we interviewed 11 or 12 in one day. We hired 4. 11. So there's 7 in that pool that will be available. And then there's these other 4 that will have to conduct similar interviews that we conducted with the other 11. Put that in the mix and we'll probably end up hiring 4, 3, 4, 5, whatever the number is to get us up to full enrollment. That's what we stand.
So that would put us doing interviews
Sometime in
September.
Sometime, yeah, in September. I don't think that would start.
Offhand, I don't know.
Yeah, because we have to do that before they can go to the county, we have to do background checks, we have to have physicals, get their IME. It's just like a 3-week process to get them from the time they come in. We need 2 weeks before they come in for the interviews, and then 3 weeks after that, probably.
Yeah, I would venture that the academy would start too soon after the interview.
Can't move that time.
I could find out that I can check you tomorrow.
Is there a list of these before?
We expert on the list, yeah, I think the chief expert names, he sends out the letters, and then they can either go or not go to the CPAC. If they let them go to the CPAC, then
It
they're
was just more for people's corner home, there was a list that didn't get exhausted.
correct.
We interviewed several candidates, and then there's another list, of those, some of those same people are on that same list.
Correct.
Okay, so we would only interview the people that we didn't already interview, who are in the,
You might bring back the same people.
Well, I mean, we. But what happened was, there's a list out there. On the first round, there were some folks who decided not to present themselves on that list. They have a right to present themselves every time we ask for a list. So those other 4 people may present themselves, and if they do, we have to interview them. And they get put in the pool with the other 7 people, equally with the other 7 people, giving a similar interview. And that's where we stand. And they fill the exact same form, they fill out the exact same questionnaire. There'd be no difference in process. Okay, so that's that for staff. We still haven't resolved the mechanic position, just moving down the list. We haven't had much response back on the healthcare premium recovery. The overtime we heard tonight was running slightly above what our projection was for this time of year, but modestly. Although we are going through some months now. Fire district manager position, we've communicated with Westchester County. We believe that's been moved from Westchester County to New York State. The idea there is to hire a fire district manager. It's interesting, Tuckahoe recently hired a village administrator. In the same vein, we're looking for a fire district manager. We're looking for a non-competitive position, meaning we don't have to hire off a list. We think it'll give us greater flexibility, and that's very much a management position, so we're hoping that that will be granted. And our law firm is going through the motions. It's a fairly complicated process. Grant on the floor repairs for Tuckahoe Firehouse, we have a proposal. Do you want to talk about that? I make a motion that we can think about the process.
Sure. We got a revised proposal from A&M Engineering for a more limited scope on that project. After discussion amongst the board, we decided that what we were going to do is proceed with a replacement of the ramp, which anyone who's been to the Tuckahoe Stadium has seen it. The ramp is basically entirely pulverized and needs replacement. We were considering a full replacement of the floor. But we decided instead that we're just going to replace the damaged portions of the floor where the ladder truck, most of the way the ladder truck sits. So, part of the reason for potentially replacing the entire floor initially was, to head off any future repairs that might be necessary, and also look to gain from up to 6 to 12 inches of additional clearance height by lowering the floor by that amount. But after discussion amongst the board, we decided for a couple of reasons, most notably the fact that we may ultimately look to consolidate that house with another one, and building a 20-year, or should be a 100-year floor for a house that this consolidation didn't necessarily make sense. And the other reason is that despite any preparations we might make, the potential for uncovering something, once we took that floor out, and the potential for crossed overruns was quite high. So we're going to proceed with a limited scope. Again, just replacing the ramp entirely and repairing the damage to the existing floor.
Is that going out to bids, or anyone to bid on it?
What we're looking to do right now is just hire an engineer to draw up the specs, and then we'll go out for competitive bid once we engage the engineer to do his work.
And we've got a contract back, we got a proposal back from the architectural firm that needs from wordsmithing back and forth, where ours are 100% comfortable with the terms. So what we want to do is we want the board to authorize the chair, I'll read the resolution and you can see how this works. Resolution authorizing the board chairman to enter into a consulting agreement with A&M Engineering PC for the sum not to exceed $11,000, provided Fire District Council of Cobham and Gerhardt, LLP, in their sole discretion, can present an acceptable written agreement to the chairman between A&M Engineering and the Eastchester Fire District for work to be conducted on the Tuckerville Firehouse ramp and floor. Therefore, if we are unable to get the terms we want from the engineering firm, we simply not going to sign the agreement. And we can get this project moving by the weather still, hopefully get plans for it, and not have to wait months to get this done for board meetings. So I look for a motion to that meeting. Want to make that motion? Okay, motion. And a second?
I'll second it.
And Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald? And I'll say aye. So that's how we'll try to move forward on that process. We have a little project going on to install security cameras in the exterior, I'll say exterior, of Station 1. I don't know how that's done anywhere else, do we get anything new?
Yes, following up on the comments from some of the board members and the chief, the firm that was originally brought in revisited this, and they told it to add the additional views, which brings to a total of 11 cameras in there. This proposal is supposed to be due tomorrow.
Okay, do we have anybody else coming along with the competitive proposal?
Not right now, because we didn't have a scope on the project.
Okay.
And once we get that camera down, then we can put it out.
I don't know if you noticed, but Bronxville put them in this room right here. They were here last month. Those are security cameras, so maybe we can leverage maybe what they use.
And it's
As
just-
well.
Okay, so next item is, we heard about Tower Line 17 is back in service after the repairs. Other business tonight, a couple other items I have here. Okay, we have one employee who, well, a couple of employees, one employee who has not got a salary adjustment in 2014, what all the CBA members have. And he's our sole maintenance worker, and we were going to propose giving him a match with the CBA workers got. So I look for a resolution to adjust the annual compensation of Middleton's Darrell by 2.5% retroactively to the first pay period, January 2014. Any discussion or anybody want to?
I'll second it.
I'll make a motion. And Mr. Napolitano. And I'll go with Mr. Baker.
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano.
Aye.
And I'll say aye. The second one is a longer one. It's our assistant chief. Last year, we negotiated a new contract with the union. That contract went on for 5 years. It was 2010, 11, 2012, 13, 14. The steps in that contract was 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 2.5, 2.5, respectively. The assistant chief nor the chief have received pay increases of any sort since 2009. So we are going to address that tonight with the assistant chief. And so the resolution to adjust the salary of Assistant Chief Ralph Sullivan Jr. retroactive for calendar years 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014 by 1.5%, 1.5%, 2.5%, 2.5%, respectively. The justification is based on the fact that the assistant chief does not have an increase over the last 5 years. Can I have a motion for that and a second?
Motion.
Yes, Mr. Napolitano. And for 1 second, Mr. Napolitano. Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
And I'll say aye.
I might add, thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, your patience on that.
I want to thank your family for your patience.
Okay, The resolution to uphold the termination against employee 176. The chief has made a determination to terminate an employee last August. That employee was entitled to an Article 32 hearing, I'm saying it, 73 hearing. The board appointed a hearing officer. That hearing officer conducted a hearing and made a series and provided a recommendation to the board on approximately June 13, 2014. The board has a motion to formally adopt that.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read it?
Just
I apologize in advance, but because of the nature of it, I'm going to have to read the entire thing, but I'll try to be clear, go slow. Resolution of appointing termination against employee number 176. Regular meeting of Eastchester Fire District Board of Fire Commissioners held on July 15, 2014. Following resolution. Whereas employee number 176 was a firefighter with the town of Eastchester Fire District, whereas the employee was absent from work for a period in excess of 1 year due to a non-occupational injury or illness. Whereas after the expiration of 1 year, the fire district terminated the employee pursuant to section 73 of the Civil Service Law by reason of his absence from work for a period in excess of 1 year due to non-occupational injury or illness. Whereas the employee appealed the decision to terminate his employment. Whereas said fire district resolved to, and by and through Chief of the Department Michael Brogan, thereafter duly designated Alfred C. Cava as the hearing officer, presided at the hearing and made his report and recommendation to the fire district regarding said termination of employment. Whereas the employee was given appropriate notice of the hearing and his rights under section 73 of the Civil Service Law thereof. Whereas hearings were held before hearing officer Cava on December 17, 2013, January 13, 2014, February 3, 2014, and February 10, 2014. Whereas the employee and Richard S. Cornwall, Esquire, the attorney for the employee, did appear and participate in said hearings and did submit evidence and present witnesses, and did cross-examine the fire district witnesses, and did submit closing briefs, all in opposition to said termination of employment. Whereas hearing officer Cava on June 13, 2014, did submit his findings of fact and recommendations to the fire district, a copy of which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, made a part hereof. Whereas the fire district's Board of Fire Commissioners have reviewed and duly deliberated regarding hearing officer Cava's findings of facts and recommendations. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners of the Eastchester Fire District in regular session duly convened as follows. Number 1, it is hereby determined that the Board of Fire Commissioners of said fire district adopts the findings of facts of hearing officer Cava for the reasons set forth therein. Number 2, it is hereby determined that the Board of Fire Commissioners of said fire district adopts the recommendation of the hearing officer and finds that the employee's employment was properly terminated pursuant to section 73 of the Civil Service Law by reason of his absence from work for a period of in excess of 1 year due to non-occupational injury or illness. Number 3, it is hereby determined that the employee's termination of employment under is upheld and shall remain in place. Number 4, the Secretary Treasurer of the Fire District is hereby directed to communicate such determination to the employee by transmitting a certified copy of this resolution by certified mail to the employee and his attorney, Richard S. Cornwall, Esquire. 5, this resolution shall take effect immediately. And I would offer that resolution.
And I will second that. Okay. Mr. Kibble? Aye. Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. Okay. And, so, Okay, so then we're going to take a few minutes to review the bills more closely, and then we'll adjourn the meeting after we adopt the bills. Okay? We're not going to close the meeting now until we complete the process. So if anybody has any comments or questions, you're welcome to bring them.
So, close the video.
So close the video.